Motorsport TV Live, brought to you by Motorsport Tickets, the dedicated motorsport experiences provider.
Hello there and welcome to Motorsport TV Live. I'm Diana Binks with all the latest news from the world of motorsport. IndyCar and Motorsport Network launched Global Fan Survey. Nasser Al-Attiyah lucky to finish Stage 8 after mechanical issues in the Dakar. And Pourchaire extends his contract at ART Grand Prix. That's all coming up here on Motorsport TV Live. IndyCar news first, and the series is teaming up with Motorsport Network to launch a global fan survey. North America's premier open-wheel racing series and the motorsport industry's leading digital platform are to offer fans the chance to share their views. The survey is expected to be the largest NTT IndyCar series fan survey of its kind, operating in 11 languages across Motorsport Network's flagship motorsport.com website. Well, I'm joined now by former Indy 500 and IndyCar champion Juan Pablo Montoya to talk about it. Juan Pablo, thanks for joining us today. The news is that IndyCar and Motorsport Network have teamed up to launch this global survey. How important is it, do you think?
I think it's really important to understand where IndyCar stands. I think people worldwide really care for IndyCar more than they think. And I think it would be a good way of showing where they need to go, what they need for the races. I think it's very much what, Roger and everybody at IndyCar, think about is how to make a better show, what people think of the show, how can we improve the show, what do we need to make it better, and they really care for what people think. I think in America, understanding the show and making sure it's the best experience for a fan, it's what they really are after. You know what I mean? If people are interested in watching the races and enjoying the races, and when they go to the racetrack, they have a good experience, it's always great. It's a shame, like nowadays, right now it's very difficult, but, when I ran IndyCar, we used to go to Australia and always used to be a huge event, used to go to Japan. And, I know they tried in Europe and it wasn't a lot of success in Europe. It's just a different market. But I think there's a lot of really good opportunities out there for IndyCar.
Obviously, as you said there, it's global, but what is it about IndyCar that makes it so special, do you think?
Well, the way people look at it, IndyCar is like, what Formula One is for Europe with with what you could call in America open wheel. That's IndyCar in America. It's the top of motorsports in America and open wheel. And, the Indy 500 is such a big event. It's incredible. It's one of the biggest, shows watched on TV and everything. And it's an amazing race. So to be able to grow the sport, I think that's the right word is, grow the sport, get more manufacturers involved. And I think Roger is probably working a lot on that. If you can get the extra manufacturer, they're going with a hybrid system in a couple of years. So there's a lot of things in the pipeline that are going to make the car more interesting. Of course, there's always complaints. They need to come up with a new car. They need to do this. They need to do that. But, from the driver point of view, that's what you always want. You want something newer and better.
Yeah.
The owners don't want to change because it costs money. And it's always that difficult balance. And at the end of the day, we got to put a good show. And I think if you always watch an IndyCar race, one of the cool things is you never know who's going to win it. You go into race weekend, it's always open. That is very different from Formula One. When you go to a Formula One race or you're going to watch a Formula One race, it's going to be either a Red Bull or Mercedes, at least up to this year. Next year with the rule changes, it might change a little bit. But up to now, that's been the case.
Why are Formula One drivers heading to IndyCar?
I think it's a really good escape from the atmosphere. It's a lot better atmosphere. It's a lot more relaxed, and it's a good opportunity to extend your career. You look at people that had talented to win races in Formula One, but never got the opportunity. They go to IndyCar and they end up winning races and championships and things like that. I think it's a good way of exploring your career. I think, hypercars and LMDH is going to be another good way of doing it. So I think as a race car driver, there's going to be more opportunities now that it used to be to have a proper career. Of course, you still, when you're young, you still want to aim at Formula One and try to get there. But I think a good opportunity for sure is the IndyCar way.
What about you personally? What was it that appealed to you about IndyCar, and what did you enjoy most?
Well, for me, it was funny because I was such a fan of Sonardi and the Target car back in the day when they used to win everything. And we used to, I actually lived in Cambridge at the time, and I was racing Formula 3000. And I, you end up watching all those races, and I was such a big fan of Alex and everything. And to realize that a couple of months later, I was going to be actually driving his car. I replaced Alex, and it was unbelievable. It was an amazing opportunity, and we made the most out of it. In the first year, we won 7 races and everything, and won the championship. So it was really, really good.
And you said earlier, that IndyCar can be a bit unpredictable, whereas Formula One, you sort of can gauge who might be the front runners. Is that also something that adds to the excitement?
I think it adds to the excitement, but adds to the frustration when you have a good car and a good week. Because it's from my personal point of view, I think it's bad because when you're competitive and you're having a good week, you're trying to run the best strategy as possible. And if you're off the pace, you're going to do something completely crazy that you need a lot of luck, that the caution needs to come out at the right time. And if it does, you end up in the lead. And if you were leading and you didn't pit, you end up 15 and it ruins your day. But it's part of what IndyCar is. And it's exciting. It's frustrating as hell, but it's exciting.
Once we get the results back from this global fan survey, what are you expecting to see?
I think they're going to see that there's a lot of fans and a lot of people want to watch more races in a lot of different places. I think Australia, you're going to see a lot of that. I think Latin America want probably IndyCar back. Probably Asia would be a good place to have an IndyCar race. I think Europe is difficult. I think the Europeans are, the way they look at and think of Americans is nearly impossible to have a good race. It's like if you look at F1 in Europe, in my opinion, most of the fans that go there are not really Americans.
What ideas do you have then to make it a bit different? If you could change something, what would it be?
If I could change something, I would probably make the car better. That would be, I think the car had its cycle already, and I would do 2 things. I would make probably a newer car with the same safety things and everything, but everything integrated from the word go, especially with the hybrid system. And I would put a power steering on it.
Okay, would that be your ideal IndyCar then?
Yeah, I mean, nowadays every top racing in motorsports, you got power steering and everything, and it's not necessary. It's like when we went to paddle ships, and it was the right way of doing it. It was the next step, and power steering is part of that process. You can. If you want to say you're a purist, why do you have paddle shifts? You should have a stick and you should be, shifting old style, but you don't. You already, IndyCar wants to have the technology, wants to have everything. And I think it would open the doors for female racers and everything to have the power steering, because without the power steering, it makes it really tough.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Now, what about different chassis and tyres? Would you look at changing any of that?
I think Firestone does a really good job with the tires. The hard thing is the same thing you see with Ferrari. There's no competition, so there's no need to spend a lot of money on fancy materials and crazy tires, because why are you going to spend X amount of dollars more for no reason? If the tire is good, it's consistent, you have especially they have this the soft tire and the regular tire. And, it's not bad. And in the oval, the tire works well. It's consistent. It's safe. It's everything what they need to do. I think the cars just got heavier and heavier. And if you look at everywhere, the cars are getting pretty heavy. But the problem is, you look at F1, the cars get heavier, but they get designed every year as a new car. With the IndyCar, this is the DW12, isn't it? We're like 10 years old already. Yeah. And since then, we added things, they added a lot of panels, intrusion panels, and now they're gonna add the hybrid system, and they put the how do you call that, the halo and the windshield and everything. So I know it's a work in progress and everything, and the budgets are very different, but at some point you need to go and say, okay, we need the evolution of this. I think this is where we're going. This is what we need this is where the future of IndyCar is. This is the cars, the engines we want to build, the hybrid systems we want to have, and have everything integrated in a much better way. I think it would be a good thing to do, personally speaking. And then you can run a chassis for another 10 years. But, when does it going to stop?
No. Well, it's always constantly evolving, as we know. Now, my final question to you is, if you had a team, who would you choose to give a full-time drive to, looking around at the talent and the drivers that are around all over the world? Because this is global, after all. Who would you choose?
Including F1 drivers or anybody?
Yes, anyone.
I would pick probably, Max. You would have to pick Max for sure. Would be like the logical choice. And a young guy like Lando would be really good. If you look from the IndyCar side, if I had an IndyCar team, I would probably pick Pato as one of my two guys, and then an experienced guy, a guy like Dixon or somebody like that with a lot of experience. Yeah,
I mean, good choice there. I mean, there's I think we're blessed that there are a lot of young drivers coming through where we can certainly see the talent as they, move forwards. So as ever, Juan Pablo, great to talk to you today. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing what the results are from this fan survey, and good to talk to you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Dakar news now, and gas rider Sam Sunderland has regained the overall lead in the bikes after taking the Stage 8 win in the rally. Sunderland led almost all of the first week of the event in Saudi Arabia, but lost almost 26 minutes to the leaders on Stage 7 after what he described as a casino stage in terms of navigation. However, today's 395-kilometre run from the Al-Attiyah to Adi Dawasser saw him leading at every single waypoint to win by 2 minutes 53 seconds, giving him the top spot in the general classification. And overnight leader Adrian van Beveren endured a tougher day as the second rider on the road, but the Yamaha man limited his time loss to Sunderland to 10 minutes 21 seconds, finishing in 9th. And here are the Stage 8 results as we see them on the bikes, and it's Sunderland, as we just mentioned there, with Quintanilla behind him and Walkner for Red Bull KTM in 3rd. And then this is what it means to the overall bike standings. And Sunderland maintains that lead with Gas with Walkner just behind, and Van Beveren in Monster Energy in 3rd behind him. And of course it will change as the stages go on. And staying with the Dakar and in the cars, Nasser Al-Attiyah says he was really lucky to finish Stage 8 and retain the lead of the Dakar Rally after suffering a mechanical scare with a broken rear differential. The three-time Dakar winner lost almost 8 minutes to nearest rival Sébastien Loeb in the overall classification, having completed the majority of the stage with only front-wheel drive on his Toyota, while also suffering a puncture early on in the stage. We had only front-wheel drive as we broke the rear, and I was really scared all the way, he said. But on the last part, I said I don't care. The last 50 kilometres, I tried to push a little bit, but it was not easy with only the front wheels, but it was okay. And while the Dakar leader is confident of the broken part being identified and fixed overnight, he is also keen to investigate the issue with his Toyota team, having installed new rear differential parts before Stage 7. Meanwhile, Stefan Petter-Hansel was top of the timings in the category at the finish line for the day's special before being dethroned by his teammate Mattias Ekström, giving the Swede his very first stage win on the Dakar. Sébastien Loeb's third-place finish, just 3 seconds in front of Carlos Sainz, prevented Audi from accomplishing a 1-2-3. And here's confirmation on how that stage results look at the end of the day. And it's Ekström over Petter-Hansel and Loeb, with Carlos Sainz just behind him. And then this is what it does to the overall standings for the cars. Al-Attiyah still in the lead there, with Sébastien Loeb just behind him. So stay with us, we have more news from the world of motorsport coming up here on Motorsport TV Live. WRC news now, and Hyundai have unveiled their new 2022 car for the series' new hybrid era, featuring a tweaked version of its blue and orange factory livery. The i20N Rally1 will be piloted by Thierry Neuville and 2019 WRC champion Loïc Tanak across the full 13-round championship, while new signing Oliver Solberg will split duties in the third entry with the experienced Danny Sordo. New Rally1 regulations mean all 3 manufacturers have had to design and construct all new cars from the ground up, with Hyundai the last of the marques to commit and start working on its 2022 Challenger. The biggest change to the cars sees the introduction of a 100-kilowatt hybrid unit coupled to the 1.6-litre turbocharged internal combustion engine, the only key component carried over from the previous generation of cars. Drivers will be required to use hybrid power during every stage, with power boosts activated by the throttle pedal and unlocked through energy regeneration under braking during the tests. Loïc Tanak had this to say while speaking at the launch of the car.
Definitely looking forward for a fresh start. I mean, also from the team side, it's all new now, so definitely quite exciting, and you know, I'm sure it opens many doors, so everything is possible now again, and hopefully we will have a good start. Everybody have been working really flat out, even through the Christmas, because the regulation has changed so much. There really haven't been much time, you know, to relax, and for sure it's been a big effort. But anyway, I think as it's all brand new, it's still some uncertainty, and you know, definitely it won't be 100% for Monte Carlo, but it's been really important to get the car at least reliable, and to make sure we can get through the Monte without any big issues. So that would be the biggest priority.
And despite heading into uncharted waters with the introduction of hybrid power, powertrain manager and deputy team director Julien Monset says the team has embraced the technological challenge, but is wary that the i20's performance will only be known when competition begins at Monte Carlo. To Formula One now, and Ferrari director Laurent Mekies is expecting teams to push out fewer in-season car developments in 2022 because of the budget cap constraints. Last season, most Formula One teams halted any development push on their 2021 cars early in a bid to get ahead of the game for this year's all-new technical regulations. However, Mekies believes the sport's budget cap will still limit in-season developments compared to pre-2020 levels, with financial restrictions limiting the number of updates teams can afford to pump out. In 2018 and 2019, in the big teams, you had something every race on the car or every other race, he said. It sounds difficult from our perspective to have a number of high updates with the constraints that we have. And he went on to say that if 2022's pre-season testing unearths issues that need to be addressed quickly, then fixing those problems could mean that teams may have to dip into their development pot earlier than planned and sacrifice something in the season updates. Formula 2 news now, and Theo Pourchaire will stay with ART Grand Prix for his second season of the series in 2022. The French Sauber junior has signed on for his third year with the team after finishing 5th in his rookie season in 2021 with 140 points. Pourchaire became Formula 2's youngest race winner last season in Monaco, winning the feature race from pole before taking 2 more podiums, including a win in the first Monza sprint race. He was previously the FIA Formula 3 runner-up with the outfit in 2020, taking 2 wins and 8 podiums in his rookie season. And finally, news from the World Endurance Championship, where ex-Formula 1 driver Sébastien Bourdais is set to contest a full season for the first time after joining the new British Vector Sport team for 2022. The four-time champion, Champ Car champion and former Peugeot Le Mans prototype factory racer is the second driver to be confirmed by the new Silverstone-based LMP2 squad after the announcement of Audi factory driver Nico Müller last month when Vector went public on its plans for this season. A third silver-rated driver for the team's Solo Oreca Gibson 07 will be announced shortly, according to the team's statement issued on Monday. Vector is now awaiting to see if its WEC entry is accepted, with the entry list due to be published next week. And that's all for now. I'm Diana Binks. Join us again here on Motorsport TV Live for all the latest news from the world of motorsport. Bye for now.